times we all reach the place where we know we should pray, but we don't know what to pray. The causes for an inability to know what to pray are as various as there are Christians. At times we are too sorrowful to pray, at other times too angry. I think we've all felt the guilt of our sin to be so heavy upon us that we can't bear to pray. And then there is the very simple, what do I say? Whatever I say comes out of my mouth sounds kind of dumb. It sounds like I'm just making this grocery list of requests to God. Or you have those moments where your mind just goes blank and you have nothing to say. We all know we should pray more. I think the vast majority of us in the church want to pray more, but how do we get there? Dunn comes with a very simple suggestion. One that for any student of the Bible is already staring you right in the face. When you don't know what to pray, or even you don't want to pray, pray the Psalms. When you don't have the words, Dunn makes a passionate and strong plea for Christians of all levels of maturity to pray the Psalms to the Lord, to allow the Psalms to not just be a song book or a book of prophecy, but to let it be a book that guides us into our prayer and communication with our God. I came into this book both intrigued and honestly a little skeptical. Intrigued because I know from firsthand experience the power of praying back the Psalms to God. Every time I lose a loved one, someone in my church, someone in my family, I pray Psalm 23. I ask the Lord to guide me through the shadow of death and to prepare a table for my loved one as they dwell in the house of the Lord forever. I've had prayers of longing for God's presence as I read Psalm 24. And then there are the prayers of confession from Psalm 51. But at the same time, I just finished John Owen's work on prayer, where he dismissed entirely the idea of written prayers in favor of always praying with our own words. And I really like what Owen wrote there. So how would I feel about praying the Psalms in light of my last book that I read on praying in my own words? Well, I loved this book. I still think Owen, for the most part, is right on the importance of praying in our own words. But the Psalms encourage us to continue to pray even when we can't get the words out. And it also helps to expand our subjects and the contents of our conversations with God. So if you have a few more minutes, let me just tell you a little bit more about this new 2025 release from Lexham Press. Welcome to Rev Reads. If you want to discover more books that will help you in your prayer life, please subscribe to the channel to stay up to date with my most recent reviews. Also, please like and share this video with others to help them know about the work of Dunn. The most affordable way to build a large theological library today is through Logos Bible software. I'd encourage you to follow the link in the description below to purchase your Logos edition of When You Don't Have the Words. Also, follow the link in the description to subscribe to Logos and get 60 free days to enjoy their massive library and their helpful Bible study tools. When You Don't Have the Words is split up into two major sections, one on orientation and the other on experience. Under orientation, Dunn helps the reader to get the lay of the land when it comes to using the Psalms as a prayer book, talking about the importance of the Psalms and also providing some practical tips for praying these songs. Then in the second section, he prays the Psalms with you. He goes through several Psalms to help you see the various aspects of the Psalter that are often overlooked, to help you be engaged with what you can experience in the Psalms. Overall, I really liked that structure as Dunn both provides the reader with the tools to use the Psalter as a prayer book, but even more important to provide numerous examples to guide and prepare you for your journey of praying the Psalms. And I gotta say, on top of that, this book is filled with great insight throughout into really the entire Christian walk. I really liked what he wrote about the Psalter shaping us, molding us like clay. One of the things that struck me from one of the C.S. Lewis books that I've read in the past was on the importance of reading the works of other individuals in order to gain their perspective. You read lots of different books so that you can gain dozens or hundreds of perspectives that you could never have from your own limited experience. And the Psalms expands our horizon like nothing else in the world. They push you to feel appropriate responses for both the glory of God and in response to the sin-cursed world you live in. They allow you to get beyond your own viewpoint and into the viewpoint of people who are crushed by the sins of others, those who are devastated by their own sin, those who are overwhelmed by the majesty of God. Don't limit your prayer life to your own limited perspective, but allow the psalmists to expand your vision. I also really liked what he wrote on emotions when it comes to prayer. The Psalms are very emotional. And we think, and I think we're right in this, that worship should always be emotional. And in one sense, it should be. But there's a problem with that. And that is our emotions don't always align with the truth of God's word. There are times when I don't feel like praying Psalm 150 in praise to the Lord. There are times I don't feel like calling on God's judgments on his enemies. The problem is that my emotions, your emotions, they don't change the truth regarding what we find in the Psalms. They are still true even when we don't feel it. So when you don't want to pray a current psalm because you are not emotionally connected to it, pray it anyway and allow the psalm to guide you to a truth that you don't feel. Another thing that is great about praying the Psalms is how they connect us to the past history of God's people. We build a connection to Moses, David, the Israelites who struggled over the divided kingdom and then the fall of their nation. At times, some of the characters in the Old Testament can feel a little bit more like that weird uncle in the family reunion that we have nothing in common with, and we hope that he doesn't talk to us. But the Psalms welcome us into their hearts and shows us the world from their perspective so we can deepen our connection to these characters in the family of God who came before us. I think for most readers, the most helpful chapter in this book will be the chapter on the imprecatory Psalms. A lot of us would like to pretend that those Psalms of judgment on others don't exist. In my first church in upstate New York where I pastored, we began every worship service by reading an entire psalm for the most part or part of a psalm. And I always tried to stay away from those imprecatory psalms of judgment because they didn't feel appropriate to begin a worship service. And the hard thing is that some of us avoid them altogether. But Dunn helps the reader to see how these psalms provide a voice for those who are suffering under injustice. They teach us to pray with passion against affliction and evil in this world. And they take us right up against the enemy of the church, the gates of hell, and allow us to wage war against our spiritual adversaries through prayer. Now, those are just a few examples of the numerous insights spread throughout Dunn's excellent work when you don't have the words. So if you need help to pray during those times where you're not sure what to pray, you need the Psalms, and read Dunn to be your guide into praying these remarkable songs.